relatively low expectations in terms of what can be achieved at this emergency foreign affairs meeting tomorrow. We know at the best of times EU foreign policy is very hard to get unity, but on an issue like the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, obviously there are historical concerns and there are specific countries with specific positions on this. But I'm joined now for more by Professor John O'Brennan, Jean Monnet Professor of EU Law at National University of Ireland. John, what's the best that can be hoped for at tomorrow's meeting?
Well, good evening, Shona. I think what this crisis has revealed yet again is the absolute failure of the European Union to cohere around a common position. There's nothing new about this. If we go back to the first Intifada in the late 1980s, the member states were divided. Last week, we saw the leaders of Austria, the Czech Republic and Slovenia taking an unashamedly pro-Israeli position, whereas I think the majority of member states are much more sympathetic to the Palestinian perspective. And obviously the humanitarian crisis in Gaza is of such a scale that there are calls all around the European Union for a much more explicit action to be taken. However, the problem that you point to, I think, is the most significant one, the fact that the smallest member state has the capacity to block action at EU level, and even the right or the desire in the European Union to come to a common position is often made impossible because one or other member state will oppose it. Most recently, we've seen that with Hungary in relation to positions on Russia and on China. And the fact that we've got a sizable kind of cohort of member states here, that again is making it very difficult for the EU to come to any kind of coherent or collective position shouldn't surprise us, I think. And I don't think anybody is holding out much expectation that tomorrow is going to deliver anything new or significant.
So regardless of the calls from other members of the international community, the United Nations and so on, for, I suppose, a proportionate response from Israel in relation to the rocket attacks from Gaza, or from Gaza by Hamas, the death toll, the fact that there's so many civilians, children being killed in Gaza, Gaza itself, the position of the siege and so on. Regardless of any of those concerns, are you saying that there are just member states who will vote in favour of Israel and ensure that there's quite a watered down statement coming from EU foreign ministers tomorrow?
Yeah, we will end up where we have ended up so many times in the past, including during the crisis in 2014. And in that situation, you remember there was a completely disproportionate response again from Israel, leading to an extraordinary loss of civilian life in Gaza. I don't see that we're in anything like a different situation now. And the big problem is a structural one within the European Council. It is the fact that the unanimity rule prevails, and it means that any one member state is able to block the rest of the 26 if they feel that their national interest warrants that. And we have such strong statements in support of Israel from the Austrian Chancellor, for example, the Slovenian Prime Minister, who is about to take over as leader of the EU Council in July. It suggests to me that what we're going to get is, as you suggest, a completely watered down and insignificant statement that won't make any difference whatsoever in the larger scheme of things.
So in terms of larger scheme of things and multilateralism, really, as approach to dealing with the crisis now and the peace process in the future, can the EU have any influence on, let's say, for example, what Joe Biden, the new White House administration, does? Is there some way that Joe Biden may come back to the table or urge Israel to come back to the table?
Well, we should be honest. The United States is the only player of these two that has any leverage here at all. And although there are some sort of important nuances of difference between the Biden administration and previous administrations, including the Obama administration that he served in, at the end of the day, the United States is vehemently pro-Israel and is not going to change that position substantially. The European Union is a political pygmy in comparison to the United States, and it just doesn't have the capacity to insert itself or insinuate itself into the diplomacy that might make a difference in this context and in others.